It's time to make it, just give it a try. 'Cause you can make it like the old fat guy.
Thank you for coming and visiting us here at You Can Make It Again. My name is David Farrell, and today I'm going to make something that is a must if you barbecue in the summer, and that's a grilled potato. I'm going to make Sriracha grilled potatoes. If you're going to be cooking your meal outside and you don't want to heat your house up, why not cook the potatoes outside too? And it's really, really easy to do, and I'm going to show you how. I just started off by getting 12 about egg size new potatoes, nice soft skinned potatoes. Doesn't matter whether they're red or yellow. You can use Yukon Gold. These are Norlands from my garden. But you don't want them too big. You want them just about that size. And what we're going to do is we're going to stab them with a fork on each side because we're going to pre-microwave them. And if you microwave potatoes without stabbing them, they tend to want to blow up. So this just vents a bit of steam. So we're just going to stab each of the 12 potatoes. And then we'll just flip them over and stab them on the other side. Now, I wash these potatoes really carefully. Even if you're buying them in a store, there's a tendency for some dirt to stick to the potatoes, so make sure you give them a good rinse down before you cook them. And here I have a quarter cup of water, and I'm just going to pour that over the potatoes, because when you microwave them, that gives them a bit of steam. I'm going to put a lid on them, and I'm going to microwave them in 3-minute increments. So I'll microwave this for 3 minutes, flip the potatoes, microwave it for 3 minutes more, and then I'll start testing it with a fork. The fork could just barely go in easily, and your potatoes are cooked perfectly. So let's put these in a high microwave for 3 minutes. Well, I've taken my potatoes out of the microwave. I actually cooked them for 6 minutes. So I cooked them for 3 minutes, flipped them over, cooked them for 3 minutes more, and then I just test them by pushing a fork in. And if it just goes in easily, then they're done. And these are just fine. Now that the potatoes have cooked in the microwave, I like to brush my potatoes with butter when I'm grilling them. And as long as you're going to be brushing them with butter anyway, why not add an extra layer of flavor? Now, I love Sriracha. It has a touch of vinegar and a touch of spice. And when you use it to coat a potato with, it gives them just a little hint of heat. So I'm going to be making a brushing liquid of melted butter and Sriracha. So what I have here is 2 tablespoons or 25 milliliters of butter and 10 milliliters or 2 teaspoons of Sriracha. I'm going to put them in a microwave safe container here. Now, it's really important if you're going to cook a liquid and a fat like butter in the microwave that you use something with a lid on it, because the liquid tends to splatter when it's cooked with the fat. So make sure you got a lid on it, and I'm just going to put it in the microwave and cook it for about 45 seconds on high, which should melt it thoroughly. I've preheated my barbecue to a medium to medium high heat, and I have my potatoes that I've drained from the water and are now cooked. And I'm just going to give them a quick brush on one side with the butter and Sriracha, because that side's going to go down on the grill first. And then we just toss them butter side down on the grill. Now, you might want to use tongs to do this because they're hot, but even my cook's fingers give out after a while. Now, what we're going to do is just brush them again, and we're going to continue cooking them for a couple of minutes aside and brushing, because what we want to do is just brown and crisp up the skin. So we're going to let them sit like this for a minute. We'll turn them, brush with butter, turn them, brush with butter, and just keep continuing doing that until they're the color that you like. I've been turning these potatoes frequently for 7 or 8 minutes. I cannot give you an exact time how long the potatoes will take to cook on your grill for 2 reasons. Every barbecue grill has a different amount of direct heat, so yours might be hotter or cooler and therefore cook faster. Or you might like some really charred bits on your potatoes, where I just like a bit of crispy skin and some golden color, just like that. So it's personal taste and your grill that determines how long you'll cook them for. Now, if you've gotten here and you still want something else cooking on your barbecue, you can put these up on the top and they'll keep warm on that top grill for 10 or 15 minutes if you have to. But these are ready to take inside and try. I brought the potatoes inside from the grill, and I'll tell you, they are going to be hot. So they've had a few seconds to cool down. You'll note that they have a really nice color, a few little charry spots, some golden crisp skin. That's just the way I like them. But some people like more char. If you like more char, then you cook them more. But let's try one. You can see it's cooked nice and waxy, just perfect. There's something about new potatoes, that waxy, creamy texture, the skin with just a touch of crisp to it, and the Sriracha gives it a little burn that really punches them up. Now, if you like your potatoes milder, feel free to use less Sriracha or more, depending how spicy you like them. But these are just spicy, just the way I like them, and the best part is you can make it.
In this segment, David made Sriracha grilled potatoes. The ingredients were 12 small soft skid potatoes, 50 milliliters of water, 25 milliliters of melted butter, and 5 or 10 milliliters of Sriracha sauce, your preference. For the complete recipe, visit David's blog at oldfatguy.ca. And remember, you can make it. It's time to make it. Just give it a try. 'Cause you can make it like the old fat guy.
Welcome to another episode of You Can Make It with David Farrell, the old fat guy. Today I'm going to make bacon wrapped scallops, one of the easiest appetizers you can make. But many great chefs will tell you that great ingredients made simply and well are amongst the best food in the world. It's also one of my wife's favorite appetizers, so I make it quite often. What you'll need is 12 scallops, about medium size, and 6 strips of bacon. You're going to take each strip of bacon and just cut it in half. So that you'll have 12 half strips of bacon. Once you've got the bacon cut in half, you're just going to take one of the scallops and a few toothpicks. Take a half strip of the bacon, just wrap it around the scallop and shove a toothpick through it. Do that with each of the scallops. And the last one, we'll just roll it up and put it on the plate. Now what we'll have to do is take the scallops out to our gas grill to brown up the bacon. We have our scallops and we have our barbecue heated up with all the burners on high. You'll notice that the temperature's got to be about 450 degrees or higher because you want to brown the bacon. So now that we have it all preheated, we can just go and put them right on. Oh, I love the sound of that sizzle. There will be some flare-ups, so you got to watch this all the time you're cooking it, because if you don't, you can end up with a really overcooked piece of bacon. So just watch it, and when you see a lot of flame come up, like right there, Just move it over to the side so it's not right over the flame. Don't worry about if it just flares up for a second or two and then goes out. These have been cooking just for a couple of minutes, and they're already starting, you'll note, to get a little bit of brown on that side. That's what you're looking for. It's a nice brown color to make it look pretty. And now we'll just flip them all over, get a bit more brown on them. And we'll cook them for a couple more minutes on that side to get some brown on that edge. You'll see that it's browned on the other side now, but there's always a side that's still a little unbrowned. I just like to give them one more flip over onto that edge to get a really good crispy bacon. So look for the piece that's least crispy on the one and put it down and give it this last flip. They're all nicely browned with the bacon all the way around, so it's time to take them off and take them inside. Just load them up and make sure, you'll note I went inside and got a clean plate. You never want to take cooked food and put it on a plate that had raw food on it before. There's too much risk of contamination of nasty bugs that can make you really sick. The hardest thing about bringing this in from the barbecue is how good it smells. I just wanted to eat them on the way. But now I get to try it for real, and let's take a taste of our bacon wrapped scallop. I'm going to take this one and give it a little smear of seafood sauce. We used to call it cocktail sauce. You can get it in the supermarket, and give it a bite. The scallops are so creamy, the bacon salty, smoky, and just that little bit of spice from the horseradish and the seafood sauce makes it one of the best and easiest appetizers you've ever had, and the best part is you can make it.
In this recipe, David prepared bacon-wrapped scallops on the grill. The ingredients are 12 medium-sized scallops, 6 strips of bacon, and seafood sauce. For the complete recipe, visit David's blog at oldfatguy.ca. And, as David would say, you can make it. It's time to make it. Just give it a try. 'Cause you can make it like the old fat guy.
Thank you for coming to this episode of You Can Make It. I'm David Farrell. Today I'm going to make something special, a real treat. It's called candied salmon. Smoked candied salmon has been around for generations, and it is something that is a treat that has been loved by all those generations. There's a reason it has always been so popular. I've got some really nice wild sockeye salmon that I've picked up to make today's candied salmon. And with no further ado, let's get to it. The first thing you do when you make candied salmon is you brine it. So we have to make a brine. And we're starting off with my brine, which is 3/4 of a cup or 175 milliliters of water and 125 milliliters or half a cup of brown sugar. Now that's for 1 pound of salmon. If you have 2 pounds, double it. If you have half a pound, which I do for this piece, cut it in half. But I've mixed the brown sugar and the water together in this bowl. And then we're going to add some seasonings to it. And we're going to add 3 milliliters of dried ginger. We're going to add 2 dried bay leaves, 40 milliliters of kosher salt. Now you'll note I've got half of that here because I've got half a pound, but we just put that in with the water and the brown sugar. We also want some allspice. Allspice comes in whole pods, and you want to use the whole pods for this. For a pound, you'd use 6 or 5 or 6. For half a pound, 3. Just put the pods on a cutting board and give them a little crush, and then put them into your brine. Once you've got it in the brine, we're going to be going over the stove to heat it up and dissolve the brown sugar. I've put the brine on a burner, and I've got it set on high, and you just want to stir it until it starts to look brown and a little clear. It should only take about 1 minute. And then there we go. It's all dissolved. You can't see any crystals in there. Here's my nice little piece of wild sockeye salmon. You can use any salmon you like, but the higher the quality, the better the result. You'll note when you get a fillet of salmon from the store that there's little bones that run right along there that stick up on parts of it. You could leave them in, but they're just kind of nasty for whoever's eating your salmon. So we're going to wash up a pair of homemade pliers and just grab the bones and pull them out. It just makes for a nicer product. Now it's possible that one of these bones, like that one there just did, the end will pull off and you can't get a grip on it again. Just let it go. But try and get as many of them out as you can. As you get down closer to the tail, there won't be any down here. So I've got my pin bones out. Now let's cut it into chunks because candied salmon's normally served cold as an appetizer in small pieces. So cut it to a size you like. I like to give a nice one. Now the skin's going to be hard to cut through. That's just the way it is. So cut it into chunks. Now when it gets a little thinner like this, I like it to be a bit bigger chunks because they're getting less fish in the thin pieces. And we just have it cut into chunks. So I'm just going to bring over the brine we made, and I'm going to put the fish in a container I can cover overnight and pour the brine over the top of it. Now that's got to sit in the fridge overnight, and it'll be stirred around once or twice overnight. So we don't have to wait around though. I have some here that I put in brine overnight, and it's ready to go outside and take to my cold smoker. I've brought my salmon out to my gas grill, and I'm going to show you a trick to turn your gas grill into a cold smoker. This device here is called a smoke generator, and what it is a perforated tube, and I've put some hardwood pellets in it. I'm going to light one end, and it's going to slowly smolder down and give off smoke without giving off too much heat. So I'll just light up the end of it with my propane torch. You've got to let it go for a good 30 seconds to a minute. You want a good flame. And we're going to let that flame burn down so that it's just got some embers. And then we're going to give it another blast to make sure it's going well. And let that flame burn down. While it's burning down, I'm just going to move it to the bottom because I'm going to put my salmon on the top rack. It's going to be hot at that end, so make sure you lift it from this end. And there we go. Now, while that flame's burning down, I'm just going to give it a little blow. And there the flame goes out and it's giving off smoke. So I'm going to take the salmon and I'm going to put it on the top rack so that it will be exposed to the smoke without getting too hot. On a hot day, you can put a tray of ice in here to keep it even cooler because the cold seems to help the salmon take the smoke. This will be just fine though. And I'm going to smoke the salmon over cold smoke for 4 hours. You can leave this step out if you don't like very smoky salmon, but you need some smoke on candied salmon or the texture isn't right. Because the salmon in the cold smoker is going to take 4 hours, I cold smoked this salmon last night for 4 hours, and then you want to let it sit in the fridge overnight covered so that the flavor of the smoke works its way throughout the salmon. Now I'm going to put it in my hot smoker, which I've got preheated to 180 degrees Fahrenheit. And you just want to put the salmon in the hot smoker. Now to make it candied salmon, you got to put something sweet on them. So you have two choices. You can mix up 2 parts of honey with 1 part of water, or you can use maple syrup. I'm going to do a little bit of both. So these ones on the right, I'm going to do with maple syrup. And I'm just going to brush them with a good layer of maple syrup. The ones on the left, I'm going to brush with 2 parts of honey and 1 part of water. And that's just a different kind of candying. And then I'm going to close that up, and I'm going to smoke it in the hot smoker for between 80 minutes to 2 hours. And I'm going to brush it every 30 or 40 minutes with more of my chosen topping. You want to check when they've finished smoking to make sure the temperature is over 145 degrees Fahrenheit, and then your salmon is done. I like to let it sit overnight before I serve it because it's traditionally served cold. To avoid having to wait a couple of hours, I made some yesterday, and we can go inside and taste some finished candied salmon. Here's some smoked salmon, the candied salmon I made. I made this over the last couple of days so that we can just get right into trying it. This is the honey candied salmon. This is the maple. You'll note they've got a nice shiny glisten. They've got dark spots on it. You can even smell a little bit of the smoke, which is exactly the way I like it. But the real test is, how does it taste? Well, let's try a honey piece first. I like to break it open, and you can see it's nice and dark pink throughout, and you can see that it's not really, really dry and hard. It's still got some moisture left. A really nice background smoke flavor, just a touch of sweet from the honey. Definitely a delicious piece of candied salmon. Now let's try some of the maple. Same thing, let's break it open, and you can see the same color, but it's a little darker. Just maple gives it a little darker color. Let's just give it a taste. The maple gives it a little bit of a different sweet profile, a little bit more complex. It's really whatever your preference is. But you now know that candied salmon is a wonderful dish, it's easy to make, and you can make it.
In this recipe, David made candied salmon. The ingredients used were 500 grams of salmon fillet, 175 milliliters of water, 125 milliliters of firmly packed brown sugar, 40 milliliters of salt, 3 milliliters of dried ginger, 2 dried bay leaves, 5 whole allspice pods crushed, and maple syrup or honey diluted with water. For the complete recipe, visit David's blog at oldfatguy.ca. And as David would say, you can make it.